presentation, 04's group. I have it on my screen and I'm going to share the screen. So whenever you want me to hop to the next slide, just let me know. And then we'll go from there. And then after that, we'll get to hear from Jennifer. Is it Jennifer or Shiley? Or is that?
Most people say Shiley, but that's
screen.
Shiley's good.
So perfect. You want me to hop to the next? All right. And Greg, I do hear myself on like a 10-second lag. So if you can mute while we're going. Perfect. I think that's how we hear it. All right. And Greg, I do hear myself on like a 10-second lag. So mute while we're going. Perfect. I think. All right. Here we go.
Can you go to that first slide?
Yeah, sure can.
Thank you. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Reese Robinson. Our presentation today is going to be on communication, as it's super important in the game that we play. Each slide's going to hit a different approach or aspect to communication. So let's get started, and I'm going to give it off to Louisa.
Hi, guys. My name is Louisa, and I'm going to give a brief introduction about communication. So the way that we communicate is heavily dependent on our situation. And so our situation is going to be made up of the audience that we're talking to and the topic of conversation. So whether that be addressing something positive or negative, or even just making a joke. And so this is known as code switching. And an example, very basic example, would be the fact that you talk to your friends and your teammates differently than the way you talk to your teachers and your coaches. And so these changes that we make when we communicate can be very beneficial to improve our relationships with others. And so an example would be if you have a new teammate or a new peer at school and you want to get to know them better. And if you notice that they're not very receptive to really outgoing or loud communication, and you can kind of adjust the way that you talk to them, making them a little bit more comfortable, and then you can build bigger bonds with them. And then that can also help you improve your communication skills overall.
Okay, hi, my name is Ella Becker, and I'm going to be talking about communicating in positive situations. So communicating in positive situations is usually easier to do than in a negative situation but is also usually forgotten because in a positive situation, criticism is never needed. But even in the best of situations, communication on the field is necessary for leaders. And for example, if someone does a good job, like scores a goal or makes a good tackle, you should let them know so they continue to do that and they keep their confidence up and it keeps happening and the game keeps getting better and better. And then another example is usually when you win a game or everyone's doing really good, everyone starts playing down to their usual level. So we need a leader to step up and to keep the team up to the usual standards.
Hi, I'm Sophia, and communicating in negative situations can really have a big impact on a team's mood, and it can be what turns a game around because the best teams are the ones that can turn any setback into a way to keep pushing them forward. An example like this would be if your forward misses a goal, try to lift them up so they're ready for the next opportunity. And being a negative communicator not only brings down a team, but it doesn't leave you with good relationships.
Okay, so communicating with your coaches and teammates. So communication and confronting team struggles with your coach is key to being an impactful leader, and that goes hand in hand with building friendships, respect, and trust with your teammates. In the game, but also outside of the game, team bonding and stuff like that you can get to know your teammates better and feel more comfortable with talking to them about this kind of stuff.
And also, it's important to be receptive to constructive criticism from coaches and teammates. Constructive criticism is positive, and your teammates and coaches only want to see you succeed and improve. So you should listen and learn from it.
Okay, so our slide is how to become a better communicator. So think of what you want to say and if it is valuable to another person. And this is really important because there's really no point in giving advice to someone if it's not something that they can build on.
And then the next one is forming relationships with all of your teammates, so that you can like talk comfortably around each other. This can be like really helpful when like if you only talk to your forwards and then something's going on with your midfield, then like you're not going to have as strong as communication with them. So make sure to form relationships with all of your teammates.
Make sure you're communicating during practice so you become more comfortable communicating during games. I find that the more and more I push myself to communicate during practice, the easier it is to communicate during games.
The next point is like think of others when you're communicating, like think of how you would want to be talked to. So if somebody makes a mistake, try not to just like try not to just like put them down, or like if you don't have anything nice to say, like there is good criticism that you can say, like maybe like give them a pointer, but don't just say like you did terrible, like you did a bad job.
Okay, so communication isn't always about speaking to your teammates, but also listening and processing what others have to say. If you're not listening to what your teammates are saying, most likely they're not going to be listening to what you have to say.
Thanks, guys. Before we move on, this is really for the rest of the group. Any thoughts, any comments? I know in our age group cohort meetings, this was kind of the topic as well, talking about communications, the struggles, the successes. What thoughts do you guys have? What examples do you guys have? Everyone is a perfect communicator. No one ever has issues with this on the field, off the field. We rock. Monty.
Hey, Sarah, do you want us to like say our own
Yeah, feel free.
Or ask questions for the O4s to answer?
You can do either. Let's start with questions and then we can go from there.
Okay, so what if you are actively trying to get to know everyone on the team and build a good base of communication with them, but there are some people who are just not very responsive? How do you guys recommend going about making strong connections with people who just don't seem like they want to? I'll put some on that. I'll say Reese. Can you answer that, Reese?
I couldn't really hear what you were saying. You were cutting out.
Can you guys hear me fine? I got most of Jules's question. So the question basically is, we want to be opening to these new players and bring them in and things like that. But what if you're getting some resistance? What if we talked a little bit about changing tact if a player isn't really receptive to the way you maybe normally talk to your other teammates? Well, how do you continue to like push through and bring a player into your inner circle, even if you're not like getting a lot from that player? What if the player doesn't seem to want to be in?
I think you start simple. You get to know them, like where'd you come from? Who'd you play for before? Like simple things like that. And it's like, hey, come pass with us before practice. Come be in our group for this. Just easy stuff like that makes them more comfortable.
Sure. All right. Any other thoughts, questions, guys? All right. Before we move on to hear from our guest speaker, just give me 2 examples from the whole group total. I just want to hear 2 examples. One, someone share a positive instance of communication they had this fall, and then someone share a negative.
I can share a negative. So one that probably happens almost every game or every other game is when you get scored on, and I don't even know why. I guess this happens to girls a lot. You just get very down on yourself, and you hang your head. But it's always good having someone to just say like, pick it up, and that could always come back.
Yeah, that's great. All right, what about on the positive side? It's got one they can think of.
On our team, so at the beginning of the season, we didn't know each other too well, but I think it was our first regular game, and we all just had positive attitudes, and we won that game by we scored a lot of goals and we won that game. So positive attitudes were important.
Nice.
10-second flag.
All right. So thanks, guys. Thanks for engaging there. I didn't say this at the beginning, but one of the things we're going to be talking through in our next age group cohort meeting is takeaways from this meeting. So I see some of you guys got pens out and stuff. If you are writing stuff down, think about takeaways that you could bring into the next meeting. And with that, really excited to introduce Jennifer Shiley. Shiley, I'm going to go ahead and let you tell us a little bit about your background and then kind of take it away from there. That sounds good.
Yes, thank you, Sarah. And so I just want to start from where you guys left off, because
the situation is going to be made up of the audience that we're talking to and the topic.
I hear a background. Does somebody have this playing next to them? I feel like maybe not. Okay, I think it's gone. So I'll pick up from where you guys left off in communication, which ironically was just like a situation right there with the communication. But I heard you say a couple of things that were really important. Like, one is the impact on the mood you're in, and how that can negatively, like really immediately influence your play on the field. I heard you talking about how it's easier to communicate in the games when you've been doing it at practice. And then I'll get to this at some point, is how you switch from thinking about communicating with each other to how you actually communicate with yourself. Because I think if we're really thinking about it and we're being honest, we probably talk to ourselves all day long. And that communication can either crush us or really like set us up for success, whether you're going into a game, a practice, a test, to talk with your parents, whatever that might be. So that's the communication we might hit on as I get through what I'm talking about. But before I go there, I want to start with something. And I'm not sure, I haven't done this on Zoom, so it's going to be a bit tricky, but I want to ask you guys a question. And in order for there to be honest answers, I might have you either put your head down or close your eyes, so you're not trying to gauge your response on what everybody else is doing. Okay, so go ahead and either close your eyes or put your head down, something where you can't see. And I'm going to ask, if you were ready to decide to build leadership and confidence in the new year, raise your hand if you know where to begin or you know how to start. So if you were ready to start building your own leadership and confidence as soon as this year started, raise your hand if you know where to start or you know how to start. Okay. You guys can put your hands down and open your eyes. I think I switched screens and got the number. All right. So I took stats there, and I'll come back to that later. I'll give you a few stats here about girls, and that'll step into my background a little bit and why Coach Greg might have asked me to be here with you guys today. So 3 in 10, so 30% of girls believe they are good enough and measure up. So 3 out of 10 believe they're good enough and measure up. About 4 in 10 feel nervous on a daily basis and wish they had more friends. So 4 in 10 feel nervous because they wish they had more friends. And then we're about 3 in 10 of girls ages 15 to 17. How old are you guys? You're 16, 14, 16, 15?
Yeah, we got a wide range here, 15 through 19.
Okay, awesome. So like 3 in 10 of girls 15 to 17 are actually fully engaged in what they're doing because they're when they feel bad about their looks. So 30% of girls are fully engaged when they feel bad about how they look that day, which means 70% aren't, right? So these are tough stats to swallow about girls. I don't know if you do this in competitions, coaches, but you get stat sheets after the game and they show you like exactly what happened during the contest, where it's like, it's pretty clear, right? Who showed up, who didn't, what we need to practice on next. And those stats for girls, like, give a pretty clear impression that things aren't great. Like there's something missing for young women. And it's been like that for a little while when like 6 or 7 out of 10 girls, they don't feel good enough. They feel anxious, they feel unlovable, and they're not liking the way they look. So there's 30 girls on this call. Math is not my strength, but if those stats hold up, that's a lot of girls right here in the room. So I'll tell you a quick story, because I had a mom call me once and say, really kind. She's like, my daughter, she just became the captain of the volleyball team. So she's a leader now, but thank you for inviting us to be part of See Her Lead. And I said, congratulations. I think the parents' mindset was that leadership was like a position, like a destination. Like once you got that place, you became that thing. And what I really want to try to encourage, because if that were true, I think some of these stats would be different, is that it's more like a practice, right? Like it's kind of like on Instagram or Twitter, when you get a blue check, all of a sudden you're an influencer and you have something to contribute to the world that you didn't the day before. Like it's not an overnight ability to lead. It's really, again, this developed practice, and it involves a lot of time and obscurity, like where people don't see all the things that you're doing to develop. It's not a position, it's not an approval. And a lot of girls are missing that practice piece. And so, people, you think you just like wake up like this. And I don't think, unfortunately, maybe some of us can pull it off sometime, but if I had to call this message anything, it's that the proof is in the practice. And, the proof is like the substance of leadership. It's the full measure of your character, and it's in the preparation piece. And so like the game is just the evidence, right? That you're doing all the things and that you're not the person that you used to be. And it's why seasons don't start with a championship, right? Like you get to build one contest at a time to be better than you were when you started. And so it's funny, I have my youngest son is 6, and he was on the U7-8s, just like the little rec league with the club. And he would ask, he's like, do we have practice this week or a game? And I'd say, we have both, but we're going to practice tonight. And he said, well, why do I have to practice? As he's like asking me to put his shin guards on for him, because he doesn't know like which one goes on which foot. And like, can you put my socks on for me? I can't pull them up over my. And I was like, this is why we need the practice. We're not even at the field yet, and we don't know how to put our shin guards on. So practice is like growth over time. And not only was he able to do like a pullback by the end of the season, he was also able to put his own shin guards on. So I didn't introduce myself. My name's Shiley. So I'll go back to that real quick. I the founder of the program called See Her Lead. And that's like a leadership club, like Charlotte Independence is a soccer club. See Her Lead is a leadership club. It's like AAU for leadership, for confidence, for courage. Instead of teams, we have lead groups. And like everything else, COVID kind of put a halt on us adding groups. We have a group that meets in person right now in Davidson at the Hub, a group who's virtual right now in Denver. And we've got groups queued up in Charlotte and California and South Carolina and Pennsylvania and DC and Washington State. So once this craziness all lifts, we'll be able to get those girls up and running. We need a Charlotte Independence Club or two for these, for the younger girls, and maybe for some of you guys, something to think about. I actually had like this whole thing planned for you guys. I coached the Lake Norman group, and we met last night. And once we got talking, I just scrapped it. Like I just threw it all away because I was afraid that was gonna miss this altogether, and maybe even miss some kind of connection with you, because as the girls were talking, I realized that there was some realness to what they were saying, and what I had planned, I'm not sure how real it would have been. And I'm wondering if you guys, some of the things that you're thinking might be some of the things that they're thinking. So I'll get to that in a minute. Like I said, we meet every week. So I might have said that. We meet every week. So on Thursdays, we start with like something fun. We had a cookie contest last night because we're coming up, it's our last one for the year. We read a quote, and then we talk about how that quote somehow, like what it means to us, and it usually applies to what we're doing. And the quote last night was actually a song from a song. I'll read you the lines. It says, "I keep fighting voices in my head that say I'm not enough. Every single lie that tells me I will never measure up. Am I more than just the sum of every high and every low? Remind me once again just who I am, because I need to know." So again, that's a song. Maybe it's familiar to you, and maybe it's not. Some of the girls recognized it, some of them didn't. So, but they gave us some feedback. They said, this is what it means to me. And the girls who are there in the group, some of them are athletes, pretty decent athletes. Some are not athletes at all. Like they don't want to do PE, they're creative artists in that group. Bless you. There's an amazing musician. There's some girls who don't know like what they are yet. And those are the younger girls. There's a group, it's a mix of high school and middle school girls, which sometimes the younger girls are pretty awesome. We had an event this week on Tuesday. It was the second part of a 2-part series called Making Space for Me. And this one girl who is not part of a group, she just joined in. I don't know if her mom made her or she saw it somewhere and wanted to jump on. But she was cute. She's like raised her hand and she's like, I don't really talk much, and I think I might be the youngest person here, so I'm a little nervous. And she wasn't the youngest person there. I don't know, she must have made that up in her head, in her nervousness. But she said she was envisioning herself, because we were talking about how to like see what you want to be. And at 12, she was envisioning herself and reminding herself all the time that her goal was to get into her top colleges. Like she saw that happening. And I asked her what her top colleges were, and they were the Ivies, all the Ivies. And I was like impressed on one hand and like super nervous for her on the other, because at 12, there's a lot of time between that and getting into those colleges, and a lot of life happens. But I mean, it was amazing and really courageous for her to step up and say something like that, because there were a lot of high school girls in there too. So it was brave, but whether she was on that call willingly or her mom encouraged her, for all the times that she said, like, I'm nervous to talk, she kept answering the question every time somebody asked a question. So she clearly like wanted to be there. And sometimes like, just because you talk the most or talk too much, or maybe you're the loudest in the room, it isn't always that you're the annoying one. It might just be like the code for asking for help. Because I think she might have understood that for her to get to that place, 6 years later, it might mean she has to navigate this leadership course, and she's looking for help to do it. So that was like a quick story that made me think of how awesome the younger girls are. And then I want to get your thoughts on that quote that I read to you in a second. I'll get back to that. But really quick, Sarah, you mentioned some of the girls might have pens. You guys have pens and paper, or if not, maybe like open your notes in your phone, or notes app in your phone. So I want you to do something. I want you to think of 2 people. And the people I want you to think about, the first person is an adult who, not a parent or a family member, but like someone you trust, someone you look up to. It could be a coach, advisor, pastor, teacher, someone you have a relationship with, so they know a little bit about you. Someone you'd feel comfortable enough opening up to and sharing your goals, right? And I want you to write their name down if you can think of who that person is. And some of you guys might know immediately who this person could be. And some of you might need some time to think about it, because maybe you're not sure you have that person in your life. But I want you to write this person's name down and write this person's cell phone number down. So you have to look it up. I want you to do both things, their name and then their cell number. again, someone who you could, like if you were a follow througher, right? Like after this call, text that person and say, hey, when can I call you this weekend? When do you have some time? And I say call because it's a conversation you'd want to have, not through text. Ideally, if you could meet this person in person to have a conversation, it'd be better. But if you could find out, when can I call you quick? Just want to run something by you, right? And so this person would be someone you feel comfortable enough sharing your goals with for the new year, and say, you know, can you help keep me accountable to following through? And through See Her Lead, we always, you know, the girls create leadership goals, personal goals. And so that person becomes their mentor, and that's actually a relationship that they'll learn to cultivate. The second person is your go-to when you need encouragement. And this might be a friend, it might be a family member, somebody who you know is honest with you when you might not want to hear it, but they're not going to like hurt your feelings with it, right? So if before this call, I was super nervous, stressing, thinking like I'm going to bomb, like the girls are just going to stare at me and I'm not even going to remember what I'm talking about, I could text this person for me, I know this is an easy one for me. I know who that is. To say, am I terrible at this? Like, should I even be here right now? And this person will say, you've done this 100 times, like relax, the computer, Zoom thing isn't ideal, but you've got this. And so you need that person to be able to reach out to. So before a game, when you're stressing because your mom just yelled at you and you can't get it together, you shoot them a text and say, or it could be a teammate. So this person is their name and their cell, if you don't already have it. So one person will be your mentor, one person will be your friend, right? And the reason we're doing this is because this is how you practice leadership. You pick your team, right? Like you don't settle for just anybody. You select everybody. You pick your team when you're a leader, and that way you surround yourself with people who are going to uplift you and who you want to invest your time in to uplift right back. So let me get back to the conversation that we had at the group last night, because you guys can help me with this, and I'm curious to get some of your thoughts. So if you remember the quote, I keep fighting voices in my head that tell me I'm not enough, that tell me I should give up, right? Remind me who I am. So some of the girls said, and I'm going to paraphrase, this is how it applied to them in real life. Sometimes I don't like what I'm wearing, and like I'm walking down the hall at school and I wonder if anybody else can see that it doesn't look right. And then like, I think no one will want to be my friend because I look ridiculous. And then like, I feel anxious that I won't have any friends. Another girl said, she's like, when I'm on Zoom, because she's does virtual learning, she's like, I'll see this one curl and like, I can't get it down. And that's all I'm thinking about. And then the last person says, I'll be in class and I'll say something that probably sounds dumb. And then I'll feel like everyone is looking at me and think I'm an idiot. So these are the voices in like each person's head, right? So let me meet you where you are as soccer players. And let's just think about this like in the context of soccer. Have you ever gone into a game after like the night before or the day of you broke up with your boyfriend? Right? Like, have you ever tried to play a game with that's the last thing that happened? Have you ever gone into a game feeling like you didn't look right in your uniform? Or have you gone into a game feeling like your coach hates you? Or have you ever gone into a game feeling nervous because who was there to watch you play? Right? Like those, you could probably think of some things that I didn't think of. But what the girls were saying last night, and maybe some of the thoughts that might have triggered something there for you, they're not all that different. And what they're really saying is like, what I'm feeling is making me lose focus. Or what I'm feeling is shaking my confidence. Or what I'm feeling means I'm a loser. So whether you're in school or on a soccer field, leading is about preparation. Leadership is a practice. And so the practice in this case is not just being able to think positive thoughts or to see that about your teammate and say, hey, you're good, you got this. But it's being able to like train yourself to be able to do all the things like defend, bounce back from a scored goal, kick, pass, score, training yourself to do all those things, no matter what's going on in your life and the world around you. So you have to be able to perform even when there is craziness around you, right? And that's the practice we're talking about. Like, we're emotional people, and emotional strength is a top leadership quality. If you look up statistics, it'll separate the high performing leaders from the next level leaders. Emotional strength, and it's not all that popular. You think EQ versus IQ. EQ is emotions, IQ is set. EQ can grow. You can get better at that. Like, it's not you're born with it and you have it or you don't. Emotional intelligence is something you can practice. Like, you can strength train emotional intelligence so your brain isn't stuck in stress mode. And you can like switch right out of it when you're starting to feel anxious or overwhelmed or down, and you put your head down and you get into a mood. So that's the kind of practice that learning leadership helps you address. Like, some of the things that you might have thought about when I said, like, you might make you, things you're thinking about may make you lose focus or make you shake your confidence or feel like you're a loser. Like, if you can ask yourselves in those moments, if you can identify when that's happening to you, what am I believing right now? So like the girl who says, I feel like when I say something in class that's dumb, I'm an idiot. So if I would ask her, what are you believing right now? Are you believing that you're an idiot, right? Are you believing that you're the worst soccer player on this team? Is that what you're believing? And if you can ask yourself that, this is again the conversation, the communication in your own mind, then you can say, okay, how does this belief make me feel? I believe I'm the worst soccer player in the team. How does this belief make me feel? It makes me feel like I shouldn't even be out here, like my coach is going to see me and pull me. Okay, next question I'm asking you. Is that true? Are you the worst soccer player on this team? Is your coach staring at you and going to pull you? And you have to be honest with yourself now when you're asking yourself these questions. Chances are likely that's not true. What you're telling yourself, that story, your beliefs, is off. Something's off about it. So what would you do then next to let that belief go? Like, who would you be if you let go thinking that you were the worst player in the team? Would you feel freer? Would you feel like you could get back to your game faster? Would you feel like you might be more reactive to the teammates who need you in that moment? If you think you're the idiot in the classroom, like, how would you feel if you let that go? You might realize, like, I just got the problem wrong. Life is not over. But again, this is emotional intelligence. This is being able to communicate with your own self in a whole conversation that puts you back into a positive place. And that's the proof. In this case, the proof of your leadership is the practice of reflection. It's self-awareness. It's identifying your emotions. It's critical thinking. It's building confidence. This is the stuff you're actually practicing. They don't teach you this in school, right? This isn't an academic subject. It's not a common core, class. It's your coaches in the club. They're teaching you to be the most skilled athletes, right? You're not going to get this on a soccer field. And so leadership as a practice, self-belief as a practice, courage is a practice, finding the right mentors and friends is a practice. When I founded See Her Lead, when I designed it, I was teaching in school and I was coaching basketball at the school. Like, I couldn't do more in those spaces to try to teach what the girls actually needed, which was all this stuff about life, because they would bring all that into practice and it'd be like, well, I guess we don't have Katie today because she failed the test and she couldn't pull herself out of that space, right? So there's some things that were happening that I couldn't teach to because it was outside of the realm of sport or school. So the leading at life part was what was missing. And so that's what we figured out how to do through See Your Lead. We give the strategies to practice. Like, we give you the strategies, you take them to practice at soccer. You take them to practice at home when you're trying to not like beat up your brother because he came in your room. Like, pull it in, breathe, right? Like, that's what we help you figure out how to do, because then you fight with your brother and you get in trouble and your mom's yelling at you and then you're mad at your mom. And then, like, it's an interesting sequence of events. When you show up for a soccer tournament, you need to be all there. And your coaches are looking for you to be very present. So how can we teach you how to lead yourself into that place where you're focused and you're ready to play your best? Our vision is to see all girls live with the courage to lead. Like, it isn't to see all girls live with the courage to get likes, right? Like, to see all girls live with the courage to lead. There's a quote in this book I just read recently called Turning Pro. It's by Stephen Pressfield, and he writes, it's actually a 2-sentence chapter. This is the whole chapter. The amateur tweets, the pro works. And if that book was a few years old, if you wanted to update it, you could say the amateur TikToks, the pro works, right? So if you think about that, like, the pro is a mindset in this case. He's not asking you to be Carly Lloyd, right? Like, he's not asking you to be somebody who is getting paid for what they do. He's talking about the mindset of a professional is focused, and it's not amateur, it's not flighty, right? Like, how long does it take you to post that you're a leader on Instagram? And then how long does it actually take you to practice being a leader in real life? 2 totally different things, right? Like hashtag boss, hashtag no days off, whatever other, I feel like I'm making myself sound super old right now by saying these things. But pro is a mindset. There's a pre, right? That's the place you start. There's a post, which is what you have to show for it. And then there's the pro, which is the middle. That's the process. So pre, post, and then the pro. It happens in the process, in the practice. And I'm very much for you guys learning how to reach your individual leadership potential. And I'd love nothing more if you would get in a lead group with us and learn how to do that, because we would definitely help hold you accountable to not shortcutting that practice part. And I'm totally for you proving that you're more than just a highlight reel, right? Like, you're the whole story. And that's part of the practice, is learning that you're the whole story. So from pre to post to pro to post, doing the work, becoming more confident, and leading through your experiences, that's where that happens. And this, I love that was something you're interested in, but that's it. Like, I really wanted to talk about the practice and what that preparation might look like. And before I stop talking, I want to do one last check, like we did in the front of this, to see if the answers to this question is any different. Okay, so I want to go back to closing your eyes real quick, or putting your head down, whatever you did that first time, and tell me, raise your hand, if you're ready to decide to build your leadership and confidence in the new year. Would you know how to do it, or where how to do it? So if you were ready to decide to build your leadership and confidence in the new year, you know where to begin or how to start. Raise your hand if that's you. Well, keep them up. I kind of lost. Your arms must be so tired. I'm sorry. Okay, that's good. I think I got an in and around number. How about that? You guys can put your heads up, or your hands, or your eyes open, or whatever. And so I can kind of clue you in on some of the on this little pre-post test that I just ran. Like, and the club might do something like this on different measurements, but in what I do, I can't keep doing what I'm doing if there's no evidence of growth, right? So, like, I'm not going to teach confidence with young women if what I'm teaching them shows that they're not learning confidence. So there's a pre-test as a survey. So I ask you in the beginning, when we just get started, how many of you guys would know what to do if you wanted to build your leadership? And it was 8. I think I wrote 8. 7 girls raised their hands, right? Then in the middle, we do some work where we're figuring out information about how to lead and build confidence. And then after all that, the post, we remeasure, right? We go through this whole season of learning about leadership and confidence. And then we see, was there any learning? Was there any growth? And at the end, 18 people raise their hand, which is a little, plus or minus 18. So there was over 100% growth in just a short amount of time, as far as you knowing where to get started if you wanted to lead. But it wouldn't make any sense to just ask that question at the end if I haven't gone through all the practice with you guys of finding out where you're starting, right? So pre, pro, post, It's all about the practice. That's it. That's all I got for you guys.
Feel free to drink some more water there, Shiley. I don't want you to have a sore throat. Hey, girls, does anyone have any questions for Shiley about anything that she brought up today, or anything with her, with the group that she works with? Alice Smith, you must question.
Hi. I guess my question would be like, what are some of the like ways that not only you can get better as a leader, but you can help like your teammates or your friends kind of help like them also improve as a leader?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that goes a long way to know what makes each other get into a positive place, right? So if I'm on the field and let's just say this is with my teammates, I want to help my teammates become better leaders. And I see somebody put their head down because they got scored on. If I know what would make that person pick their head up and get back into a positive space, then I will contribute to them becoming more effective again for the team, right? So there's some awareness of what my teammates are feeling. And so you got to open up a little bit. And maybe you guys already do that. I think if there's, I don't know if you do this by position and you get close with, the offense is close and the defense is close, or if it's more mixed in. But I think if there were small groups of you that could really get to know each other, what gets you into a positive space and takes you out of that negative place, then you can put yourselves in position to be focused and really ready to perform during the time of the game. And then after the game, you come back to that thing that set you off, right? So I think there's like this teammate approach to being aware of what's happening in each other's emotional state, at least in the game setting. And just I think leadership is little things. I don't want you to think that you have to go do something drastic to be a leader. I think that's, maybe if anything, the takeaway is I can be a leader every day by making a decision differently than I did the day before, right? So it's just little ways that add up into this big accumulation that is what a leader is.
I think as well, Shiley, the one thing that I just listening to you, thinking about, everyone has their different style of doing it. Everyone has their different way of doing it. Like the young 12-year-old that was making in your group that was saying that they may be the youngest here. It's not what you think you are, it's how you project yourself, and you do it. Everyone does it differently. And I know this group here come from different parts of the town, different play on different teams. You all do it differently, and it's okay. It's okay to do it differently, to embrace it. But I really like the idea of having that mentor, having someone that you can reach out to that you trust, that can validate what you're doing. I think that's a really neat takeaway from here today. So
yeah, I think you're responsible for bringing yourself to the game, right? And to the game could be like a literal game, or it could be whatever that class, that test. And so I think if you're responsible for how you do it, your style should totally be your style, and it doesn't have to be the next person. Your coach controls the culture of the team, right? That's your coach's thing. That's why he or she is there, because they're good at that. But you bring what you're good at to what you're doing. The person next to you brings what they're good at. You trust your coach has got this all figured out for the team. And that's a beautiful setup for success. Again, whether it's soccer or school or home or something else. But yeah, no, leaders aren't robots. That would be like the worst thing ever if we were all the same and we brought this whole, identical style. That would be, in my opinion, that'd be terrible. But thank you guys. I appreciate you having me here to speak a little bit. It's Friday, it's a long week. Hopefully you're all done school and you're ready to check out. And I hope you get that rest that you, if I'm imagining it right from what all the kids I've seen, you so deserve. Enjoy it, enjoy your families, and stay healthy.
Thanks, Jen. Thanks for taking the time on away from your family for an hour to be with us. We really do appreciate it. And we'll, hopefully we'll see your little guy out on the field again in the spring, in the rec soccer in the spring. And Sarah, do you have anything else to wrap up with?
No, I mean, that was great. And girls, hopefully you feel like you got something out of that conversation. I know I certainly did. So these are lessons that are not just, targeted towards one age group. I mean, they hopefully resonate with all of us. Quick before we go, Jen, if any of these girls are so inclined to learn more about See Her Lead, or maybe get involved, maybe join a group, where what's the next step for them? Where can they find that info?
Sure. We have a website. You can go to seeherlead.org. I can confess our social media platforms aren't soaring. If you have skills, that could be a great way to actually practically lead with us, is to help us in that way. But at See Her Lead on Instagram, your parents can find us on Facebook. Or if you ask Coach Greg, he can share my contact with information with you. So you can I'm very available for whomever. So thank you.
It might be a good idea to just put your contact information into the chat box. I don't know if you've got that option. I think that would be the easiest for the kids to just quickly take it down.
Got it down. Perfect. So yeah, guys, if you're interested, just take that and jot that info down, copy it out before we go. And then if there are no other questions or comments, you guys are free to go enjoy your weekend and your holiday. If there's anyone who wants to hang on, has a question that might not be for the whole group, we'll hang on for a minute, but otherwise you guys are free to go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Girls.
Thank you so much.
You got it.
All right.
Jen, thank you so much for taking the time. I appreciate it. It was really good. I really like the leadership team concept for the girls. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Thanks. Awesome. I appreciate it. I hope you guys have a great holiday. Happy New Year to you guys.
Yeah. Thanks. You too.
All right. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
See you. I don't know if this thing broadcasts or not, because
Whether that be addressing something positive or negative.
I think it did.
It did.
Making a joke.
Yeah, I peeked on there halfway through. It was streaming.
Okay, because something. Oh, you know what? That's what it is. It was running in the background of my.
Oh.
That's what that's why it was echoing, and so I panicked again and I hit pause, and I was worried that it was pausing on the stream. So anyway, so thank you. That's the most nervous I've seen Shiley.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she and I know that it's she was a little worried, but she didn't want to be pushing her club thing. But at the same time, I appreciate you.
Yeah, I mean, we got a plug.
Giving her a plug at the end there. I think that's, you know, ultimately it could be something, you know, if, and I kind of.
I think we are. Sorry, I think we are still on, like, on the